All right, welcome to another episode of the Profusion podcast. Today we have founder of the Polar Monkeys Cold Plunge, Alex Rostoker. Rostoker? Did I pronounce it correctly,
Yeah,
Alex?
Rostoger is the.
Rostoker. Alex Rostoker. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you, Andrew. It's an honor being here with you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I actually own. I did not know Alex prior to, but I bought a Polar Monkeys Cold Plunge, reached out to him, invited him to be on the podcast a few months ago. So, anyways, can you tell how long has Polar Monkeys been in business, Alex?
Yeah, we've been around for almost 3 years. It started really small from my backyard. It was just myself making the tops. It was a little bit of an accident, of course. The industry was non-existent at the time. 3 years ago, basically no one was talking about the ice baths. Very few people, just in some pockets of the world, the Wim Hofs and these sort of people. Most people were just throwing bags of ice in garbage cans. And so we were able to come with this solution, which is self-cooling, and which allows you to have 24/7 cold water on demand, and you don't have to go to the store every time to get bags of ice.
Yeah, this is, and so you figured this out 3 years ago. What led you to this? What made you think of maybe bringing ice baths to the home, basically the homes, because this is not really known to be in a home, which they are now. So what made you think of that? What were you doing it? Were you ice bathing yourself?
Yeah, the business part was a little bit of an accident. However, I've been doing actually ice baths for over 10 years. And what got me to the ice baths actually was something different that what made me stay with the ice baths. So I suffered from a lot of injuries when I was young, mainly playing sports. I had a few surgeries, shoulder surgeries mainly, and had a bunch of injuries, and just looking for treatments and for some relief from my pains and the injuries. I somehow got introduced to the ice baths, and like I said, it's not what got me to stay or to keep consistent with the cold water. So after doing it, I didn't actually find too much relief for my injury, to be honest. And I even say this to my customers: I don't recommend it too much for injuries. Actually, the perspective in the health world is now changing. Before, people were recommending a lot cold ice for injuries, for inflammation, for recovery. Now the perspective is shifting a little bit. Now, actually, what is being recommended now for recovery from injuries and from sports is actually heat. Is hot. They are recommending even more hot tubs and saunas for recovery. But I did find other benefits when doing the ice baths. Mainly, I really felt a lot of clarity. I felt a lot of focus. I felt energized, and actually a lot of people keep repeating these benefits, and I think they are undeniable because a lot of people feel them, and I don't think you need like double blind placebo controlled trials to find a benefit in something. Some things you just feel. There is also some scientific documentation of the benefits, but I'm really not looking for that, or didn't stay because of those reasons. It just felt good for me. Mainly, I felt really energized, and it gave me a lot of clarity and focus. So for those reasons, it was a little bit even addictive at some point, and in some points of my life, I actually had to force myself not to do it, not to do the ice bath, because it can be even addictive.
Yeah,
Um,
ice bathing is definitely addictive. I'm curious, what was for all the entrepreneurs out there? Obviously, like, hey, let's go start an ice bath or cold plunge company. That's like hard to like that, it's easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
So what did the first one look like? Like, did you make it yourself, and how did you get that order placed? Because that's a unique. How did that first few orders go?
Sure.
What'd you
Yeah.
do?
So like I said, I didn't started this thinking as a business.
Hmm.
I sorry I gave you a long answer on the last one, but I actually just wanted to build one for myself.
Yeah.
I just moved to a new house. This was 3 years ago, and I just wanted to have a solution for myself that didn't require going to the store every day and getting bags of ice. Because of this, I started looking for solutions, and there was really nothing on the market. Or to be fair, there was a couple options in the market, but the only options available were 10,000. I think there was one company that was selling like a product for $12,000 at the time, and I think the Plunge, which is the largest company in the industry, they were also just releasing their product, but it was around $5,000 to $6,000 for the starting price. And I didn't want to pay that. I didn't want to pay $5,000 or $10,000 for one of these products. So I really started doing a lot of research, and I didn't know a lot about the water chillers, cooling, water pumps, filtration. There are a lot of things going on in these products. There are a lot of parts, a lot of things that you should know. But as I started doing research. I did research online. I asked mechanics. I asked engineers. I asked plumbers, and just by trial and error, I did sourcing for the parts and went to a lot of stores. I went hundreds of times to the Home Depots. I went to pool supply stores and aquarium stores, and after many iterations and trial and error, I came with a first product that, like I said, it wasn't. I wasn't looking to sell it, but it was just for myself. But I was kind of proud because it actually worked pretty great,
Wow.
and I spent probably 30% or 20% of the cost of the cheapest available model from these few companies that were available at the time. So after that, I came in with an idea. I think this is an idea I like a lot, and I learned from Peter Thiel. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He wrote one of my favorite business books of all time, Zero to One.
Yeah.
In Zero to One, Peter talks a lot about. He said competition is for losers. So he said that you should really, when starting a business, you should look for a monopoly. So at the time I was rereading this book, which is which I really liked and respect, and this concept gave me an idea because I said, of course, I already said that there were two other companies selling this, but there was no company selling an ice bath for less than $5,000. And I already knew how to do it. I did it once, and I said, I think this product is at least as good, if not better, than the $6,000, $10,000 one. So I think I can have the monopoly on the. I usually divide the market in three sections. I say there is a segment $10,000 and above. There is a $5,000 to $10,000, and below $5,000. At the time, nobody was selling an ice bath below $5,000. So I said, this is an opportunity where there is no competition. There is no market at the moment, but I think there is the interest because I've seen the people talking a lot about and I talk to people. I talk to wellness people, people in the fitness industry. People already knew about the ice baths, but of course it was very inconvenient just to get many bags of ice every time. It's not cheap also to go to
Right.
the supermarket. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money. So
Right. It's a pain in the butt. So basically, you saw a blue ocean strategy, is what that's called. There's just no competition. There's no other boats out there. You know what I mean? You're the only boat, and all you see is blue ocean, which sound like. But yeah, I had a ice bath, and I would just pour. I was so crazy, kind of like you maybe at the beginning, but I didn't build my own. I wasn't that crazy, crazy in a good way, right? Like I was so crazy. I got a freezer, a giant freezer, you know, and I got an ice machine. So I would put the ice machine in the bags and then the ice in the freezer just so I could fill my ice bath. And then I was like, this is just chaotic. It's so many bags of ice over and over, rinse, repeat over and over. I was like, I know I like it. I had to establish that I like ice bathing. Which is what it came down to, like, taste the cotton candy or something like that, or sample it before I actually sprung for, the larger item. But yeah, so when I was looking, and you mentioned the cold plunge that was on Shark Tank, what year did that come out? Do you know?
I think that was last year. I think it was in spring of last year. We were already out for over a year at that point.
Mhm.
They did started a little bit before us, the Plunge, this company, and of course Shark Tank helped them a lot in terms of exposure and also in terms of capital, which of course any manufacturing business and any business needs capital, of course, but that helped them a lot, and I think also they contributed a lot to the industry. So I am grateful for them for being in the industry, because they helped grow the industry and shine a light in this to these products. So, but yeah, that was about probably 13 or 14 months ago.
Okay. Yeah. And yours and theirs was what I kept saying. Which one? Because they're similar priced, right? I was looking at a more expensive version than your lower end version ones, but I think the kicker for me, and I don't think that they have it, was you have an app, right? Where you can change the temperature. I don't think they had that, correct?
I think I don't want to speak for them. I think until recently they didn't have an app.
Yeah. I think that was the big
Yeah.
thing for me, that I could change the temperature from my phone at my convenience, rather than, like, that just seemed like, okay,
100%. To be fair, I think they just came with an app, but I don't think it's to control the top or the top's temperature. I think it's just like for guided exercises, guided.
no, the temperature was the key, right? And that's what I love about Polar Monkeys. You can turn it on, you can turn it off from your phone, you can change the temperature. I can be anywhere and I can get it started, because if you turn it off, then it's at like 70 or whatever temperature it's at. You say, all right, get it ready for now, or you can put it on a schedule. And everything was very similar to the cold plunge, except for the art. The art was much better, in my opinion, with the monkey. That was really cool. But those were the two different, unique parts about yours.
I think that sounds fair. We do have a product that is similarly priced than them. It's still a little bit more affordable, but it is similar in terms of quality and in terms of the build of the product. That's our brain pod, which is. We do have a variety of products. What is unique to us is that we have the $2,700 product that is made with a steel tank. And yes, our acrylic or tops, it is similar to theirs. So that is competing in some ways with their typical tops.
I can't believe this is your first podcast, right?
This is my first podcast, yeah.
So ice bathing is in the personal growth space, in my opinion, right? Like personal growth, or at least it's catching everywhere. I would be diving into more podcasts if I were you,
Yeah, I actually have been just focusing on production. We actually haven't had a sales problem at all. You probably experienced this issue yourself if you bought a product from us. Has been the case for over a year. If you try to buy a product from us, you won't get it for at least 6 weeks. It's because we have a lot more sales than we can produce, and it's been the case for a long time. So actually, all my efforts for the past 2 years have been focusing on production, and I wish I had time. So there are many parts of the business that I really wish I could invest more time, like marketing, like content, stuff like this, getting the word out there. But at the time, unfortunately, really production takes 100% of my time and effort.
So where are they being produced? Are they in America?
Yeah, we do have a warehouse here in Miami, Florida. So all the tubs and the fittings for the tubs, the artwork, all that's the plumbing, that stuff we made here. And until recently, actually, everything was made in America. We switched mainly because we had an American manufacturer for the water chillers. They couldn't do the volumes that we needed because we have so much demand. So we had to change to a Chinese manufacturer for the water chillers. And it was purely a problem of capacity of fulfilling the demand. And even our Chinese manufacturer don't have the capacity to fulfill all our demand. But they have a much bigger capacity than the American one for now. So that's we made that switch. So the water chillers are made in China for now, and all the rest is made in America.
So you have a big demand, right? So where, if you're focused on production, how is marketing? How are the leads? How are you generating business? Is it word of mouth? Obviously, it's word of mouth, partial at a
Yeah,
minimum, right? And is that, how else are you generating business?
yeah, I think organically online you will find us.
Yeah.
If you look for cold plunges online, you will find polar monkeys probably at the top in most of the searches. And it's a lot of competition has appeared in the past couple months, but actually for the past 2 years we were alone here. So
Yeah.
for the past 2 years we really didn't have to do anything, and actually we didn't do any marketing almost until April of this year. We just started, we just turned on the Facebook and Google campaigns on April of this year, and Apple until then all our sales were organic actually. And I think what helped us is not having a competition. Like I said, and you made a good analogy with the blue ocean. Yes, we were alone. If you wanted to buy a cold plunge under $5,000, you didn't have an option. We were the only option.
So
For
when you made one for yourself, then how did you sell your first cold? Who did you sell it to? How did you sell it?
I didn't try to sell it. It was funny. I just did it for myself. I just wanted to do one for myself. But then
Mhm.
I invited some friends to my house, and my friends kept talking about it. Some friends just wanted to come to get in the plunge. And after some months, I said, you know what, this could be a good idea. And applying the Peter Thiel principle of like he said, you don't want to be the solar installer, the solar energy installer number 300 in California. You want to be alone in your industry. And he said this is the key to all the big company success. If you see Tesla, he said they have the monopoly of electric cars. They didn't try to go and compete with Ford or go and compete with other cars. And actually, if you try or if you go to Google, they have the monopoly also in search engine. If you go to Uber, they have the monopoly in ride sharing. And if you try to build the next electric car companies, I think it's a mistake. I think if you try to build the next electric car companies, you didn't learn anything from Elon. If you try to build the next search engine, you didn't learn anything from Larry Page, because the next Elon is not building an electric car company. That was already built. So a lot of people now are starting actually cold plunge companies. I think that is a mistake. It's already too late. But at the time when we started, I did see that opportunity. I said nobody is addressing this market. This is, like you said, a blue ocean. It's wide open. There was these two companies, $5,000-$6,000 and $12,000, but nobody was selling a product for $3,000. So I just took a picture of it and I posted it online. Within 48 hours, somebody bought it for $3,000. So I did say, look, it's
So
interesting.
your first sale was just the internet, on the internet.
Yes, I open a Shopify store, and with Shopify you can build a store in probably a couple hours. It's very cheap, and so I just took a picture. I posted on Shopify. I made
Did you
a
take a picture of yours, the one you already had?
Yes, I took a picture of mine and put all the information. I put $3,000 for the
Yeah.
price, and then I posted it also on Instagram. I made a small account on Instagram. And at the time, I did paid for some sponsored. I sponsored the post on Instagram. I paid like $200 to $300, and within 48 hours, somebody paid $3,000 for it. And so I built the next one and the next one and the next one. And for the first 30 or so, I was doing it with my bare hands, and it was just trial and error, and just keep improving the design.
Well, what was the name? Did you come up with Polar Monkey then, or was that later?
Yeah, actually, it came very fast, and actually, I still don't know if it's a good name.
Oh, dude, it's awesome.
Yeah,
It's so cool.
but it just stick, it started like that, and after some time, I said, yeah, I'm not gonna change it now, and I just left it. So yeah,
Like when
just
you came up with it, were you like what state of mind were you in when you came up with that name though? That's like such a unique, two words.
yeah. I think I don't know, some creativity is weird, things sometimes just appear out of nowhere. I really cannot describe the process, but I guess
Like the first
subconsciously.
time you said it, like with your friends or with your wife, or I don't know if you're married or your
I'm
kids.
not married. I had a girlfriend. I think I was talking to my girlfriend, and I think one friend was also staying at my house at the time. To be honest, I didn't want to talk a lot about the business with them because it was like such a small thing. I actually expect the business to fail because most ideas fail. And this
Mhm.
was such a weird idea. Of course, now the industry is growing a lot, and everyone is talking about the ice baths and this and that. But at the time, no one was talking about the ice baths, and I was kind of ashamed. I didn't want to say I have this business idea. I'm gonna sell these water tanks, with cold water. So, but I don't know. It just appeared to me. I guess subconsciously, Polar, because of the cold of Polar, has some connection with cold, and the monkeys has connection with humans, and so maybe subconsciously there is something there, but I really couldn't put my finger to how the creative process works.
So you started 3 years ago, 0 sales, and then you got 30 sales. What are you doing? Are you doing 8 figures in sales? I don't know. Are you doing 9? I mean, I guess anything's possible.
Uh,
Did you hit
yeah,
8 figures yet in
you mean
sales?
so far?
Like over 10 million? No, per like I guess gross revenue annually.
Yeah, we are well over 7 figures. Yeah,
Over 7. Have you guys crossed 8 figures yet?
we're about there, about there.
That's good.
Yeah, we probably crossed already 8 figures. Yeah.
Okay. So do you have goals? Are you shooting to get to like 9 figures, or are you? What is the kind of the vision? Do you have a vision here for the company, or?
Well, my vision is not in terms of numbers, to be honest.
Mhm. Okay.
My vision is more. I think more in terms of products, to building, in terms of building the products that I want to build. Of course, I want to make. It wouldn't hurt to make a lot of money. I
Well,
wouldn't mind it.
it helps
Yeah.
develop more products, right? So, I mean,
Yes.
some people I noticed, even Cold Plunge, right, which is, in my opinion, your largest. I mean, there's other competitors out there, and I saw in the personal growth space, some of my friends have really expensive ones. They're spending quite a bit of money on them.
Yes.
But they're getting the ice people are getting into the heat, like you mentioned before. They're starting to build out saunas. Is that kind of in your to have one and the other, or are you going to stick to the ice in the ice bag?
It's funny you mentioned that, but also, again, I want to go back to Peter Thiel's concept of competition is for losers, or
Yeah.
you should look for a monopoly. And there are already 1,000 companies building saunas, and these companies, some of them has been around for 100 years, for 50 years. This is not a new industry. The ice bath industry is definitely new. But I do see an opportunity for us in the sauna business, and actually we have a prototype for a sauna. But one of my business principles, of which is don't try to compete, and my way out of it is at least try to be original. You know, if you cannot start a new industry, at least try to be original. So we're working on a prototype. Basically, we have a prototype, which is something completely different from what you have in your mind that a sauna is. But it's not different for the sake of being different. I think it's much better than anything that's out there. It's more practical. It's at a very good price. So I don't think it will compete directly with, for example, the Plunge's sauna. They came out with a good product. I think they haven't started delivering those yet. I think the price is like $12,000 for them.
Right.
I think.
Have you thought about applying to Shark Tank, or have you?
No, I'm not interested in that. I'm not a very public person. It's also a reason, one of the reasons that I haven't been to podcast a lot. I really don't enjoy the being too much the center of attention, or the public. I think Shark Tank helps you with exposure, but if you're looking for capital, there are other ways, maybe even more potent or effective ways to go about capital. We've had many offers. I actually turned down a lot of offers. Actually, a lot of people reached out to me for during this year. Many people came and asked me if I was interested in investors. Thankfully, we're doing well financially.
Yeah, do you have any partners? Do you have any investors? Have you taken on any outside money outside your own?
I took a small investment for some people that are actually very close to me. They are very close to me because at some point it is necessary if you want to go to a certain size and do things properly, and you don't come from a background with a lot of money. You do need to take outside capital. Unfortunately, it's necessary. So I did that. But thankfully, it's people that I trust a lot, and they trust me as well. We share the same vision. But yes, I took some investment from some people.
So you sold some equity, or did you just take
I sold some equity. I sold some equity, but like I said, most of the offers that I've had, I actually turned them down because at the time I thought I didn't need them. But I didn't have a lot of experience with a startup, with manufacturing. I actually share a similar story than you, Andrew. You might not know this. You're about to know this.
Okay.
Before doing the ice baths, I was in the mortgage industry.
Okay, that's I was going to say. What were you doing before that? But it sounded like you were living with your girlfriend and you had a roommate, right? Prior to.
It's not a roommate. It's just a friend that was staying at my house because he was just in town. He's an out of town friend.
Yeah.
So yes, at the time I was living with a girlfriend.
Okay.
I was in the mortgage industry like yourself. I think you were selling mortgages. That's what you were doing?
I was a mortgage broker for about 10 years, maybe longer, 12 to it took a couple of years to figure it out. But yeah, about 10 years. So you were in the mortgage industry.
I was in the mortgage industry. I was at it for about 5 years, actually.
Okay.
I had a company with my two brothers. Actually, I still own that company. I just don't operate the company. And I always had an itch somewhere in me, going back to the concept of Peter, aiming for a monopoly. The mortgage industry, obviously, you should know this, is super competitive.
Yeah.
There are, 1,000 lenders in each
Right.
town.
Yeah.
I think my job was a little bit different than yours. One of my brothers was actually doing more like the selling of the mortgages to the customers. I was selling the mortgages, but to the banks. So
Yeah.
I was like repackaging the mortgages and selling to private equity firms and some industrial institutional investors and big banks. I was doing the back office part of the business. The business is still going well, but when this started,
Even with these 8% interest rates.
well, actually yes, because now people that before there was like two separate industries. There was like conventional banks that were doing loans at 3-4%, but there were private lenders. The private lenders were lending at 8-9%. And of course, if you could be approved for a 4% or 3% loan, you were going with the bank, with conventional banks. But people that didn't have the time or the possibility to go with a bank were going to private lenders. Now people are going directly with private lenders because the difference now is not so much. So if you go with a bank, the process can take 60 days, 90 days. They ask you for all your documents, and they ask for so many things, do so much due diligence, take so much time that is really hard. And with a private lender, you can be closing a loan in just a few days. Actually, with our company, you can close a loan in less than a week. So and now the rates are really similar. So yeah, actually these higher rates from the banks are good for the private lending or hard money lenders.
So you said your brother, you were in that business with your brother?
Two of
And
my brothers.
both brothers. Did
Yeah.
you bring them to Polar Monkeys, or did they stay there?
I didn't.
No.
Yeah, I didn't, unfortunately. But yeah, we're still close. We still are partners in the mortgage company. They of course get a salary, and I don't. But we still are partners there. It's a good business. But I'm doing also very well here, and this business has grown a lot since we started.
Yeah. So you sold a few here and there, I guess. How many baths are you selling a month? Can you say how many are you selling a month?
Yeah, a couple hundred. We're doing a couple hundred,
Wow.
and we actually could be doing a lot more because like I said, initially, we are not limited by sales. We are limited by production. And I don't know, you had an experience even before we talked. You placed an order without ever talking to me. You probably wait at least 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm
So
guessing.
you wait, and this is the same for everybody. I looked into it. Everybody, I read all the reviews. You have to wait like 4 to 8 weeks to get your bath.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that all the companies are getting the order and then building them. Is that the same with you, or is that am I just off on that?
Well, yes, but it's not because we want to build them after we get the order. It's just because we have so many orders.
I just figured you don't want to keep inventory, right? It makes sense to
No,
me.
We really cannot. We've been trying to increase production as fast as we can,
Right.
and we really cannot make more than we are. We are full throttle. We've been in full throttle for the last 2 years. It's just not possible.
So how many employees do you have? Are they subcontractors or 1099s or
No,
W-2s?
I have W2 employees. We have manufacturing employees, so warehouse workers.
Are you looking for people to work for you?
Actually, not at this time. We were until recently, because the limiting factor is not actually labor. The limiting factor is the parts mostly. Because this being a new industry, a lot of the parts are very specialized and were not available even 2 years ago. These parts are very new. Actually, our first design, I think this story is similar to the other companies that started alongside us, namely the Plunge and I think Renew. Renew, I think, has been at it for a little bit more than us. We all were using water chillers that were designed for other purposes. I think the water chiller that the Plunge is using is a water chiller that was made for aquariums, and I think the same is the case for Renew and for ours. Our initial model, we started with a water chiller that was for aquariums. Then we found one that actually, this is an interesting story in the cannabis industry. For irrigation, apparently the cannabis plants like cold water, so they have to cool down the water, and they build some water chillers that are specifically for the irrigation of cannabis, and we were using those initially. At some point, we became their biggest customer, and they just cannot keep up with our purchases. So it was very limited the amount that we can buy from them. And so we had to switch to China, and to our Chinese manufacturers. Actually, we just say every month, like, we'll buy everything you can make. We'll buy every water chiller you can make. We'll buy it.
Yeah.
And they just cannot also, they can also not increase production for some reason. It's hard to come with a new product and make a large quantity this fast, because the industry really exploded in the last year. Hopefully next year we will not have so bad production problem, but it's been the case so far.
So it's too many. So next year, if you don't have that production problem, is it going to be because production is smoother, or is it going to be because sales are not as much? What are you hoping?
No, I think we're gonna be able to. We're gonna have more supply. We're
More.
gonna have
Okay.
more parts, more chillers. Also, this is new for us. Our employees are new at this. I am new at this. We have a new warehouse, so we are learning
Yeah.
also, and we are
Do you have a mentor or anything? Like, I know you keep referring to the Peter Thiel book. What was it called? 0 to 1? Was that?
Zero to One. Yeah, that's a great book.
I always thought that 0 to 1 was like, if you can sell one, you can sell a million, right? I always thought, like, all you have to do is get past the first sale, right? Because if you can sell one ice bath, you can sell 100. 0 to 1 is always the hardest. It's like,
Did you read the book, or is that?
I think I did, but it was a while ago. Peter Thiel, he's the Palantir guy. Is that him?
Yeah, he was also a partner with Elon Musk, and
yeah,
he's been around.
I got burned on some of that stock there.
Oh yeah,
with Palantir. So, but besides that, I mean, I'm sure he's a good guy, but
he's a good guy. He started PayPal with Elon. He was an investor at SpaceX. He was one of, I think, the first outside investor at Facebook. He's done so many great things, and even with Palantir, even if you lose money with Palantir, I mean, I don't think stock prices are really, they, especially in the short term, I don't think they say too much about someone. But I think Peter is a special guy. He's one of, I admire him in some ways. Of course, he's not perfect, but I think he has some good things that people should learn from him.
Do you have any mentors though? Do you hire anybody for coaching? Do you know anything like that, or?
I talk to a lot of people. I have many friends. I read a lot of books. I study a lot of people. So I guess all of them are mentors. If some friends just share a lot of valuable advice, some and even I think the books are also a little bit of mentoring. You learn so much from them, and even I study people not only in books. I sometimes obsessively listen to interviews from some people, which I've learned a lot from many people. So yeah, very little of what I know it's original to me. I take from what I see and what I like from all over the place. I don't have one specific mentor that I talk to weekly or anything like that, but I learn from a lot of people.
Yeah, it's like, who would it be? There's not many like bigger than you in this space, I guess, or I don't know. I don't know who
Yeah,
to.
I mean, and you don't have to learn from someone specifically doing the same thing as you. I think there are things to learn from people that don't. There's some common threads, that you'll see from successful people in different areas, in different aspects, even not in business. I also learned a lot from people that are not even in business, but you can apply the concepts to business and to developing products and stuff like that.
So what are you're it sounds like you're a reader. What other books do you recommend? Like two other
Yeah,
books.
sure. I always recommend a favorite author of mine, Nassim Taleb. I don't know if
Mhm.
you've heard from him.
I think I'm reading Is Skin in the Game his book?
Skin in the Game is one of his books,
Yeah,
actually.
I'm reading that right now.
I,
Um,
I
I
think
think that's him.
I think it's a good book. It's actually a great book. It's a very important book. The thing with Taleb, I think, to really understand him, you have to read the five of his book. I also recommend a lot listening to his interviews. If you can check the guy online, I think he's very wise. He has a very original perspectives, very new concepts that are very, very true, very useful. What I learned from Nassim actually is risk taking. I think he says you shouldn't study risk management. You should study risk taking. Risk taking, I think, is very important. Another thing he said, you will learn a lot more from trial and error than you will learn from just sitting down and looking at some data, some guy looking at some statistics in some room. You will learn a lot more from trial and error. There are many concepts that I've learned from him. He goes very deep and very specific with mathematical proofs and formulas. He's a mathematician. He is a professor of probability. He's also successful in business. He's been successful in trading, I think. So I learned a lot from him.
Yeah, he's one of the better writers. He's definitely more sophisticated for sure. But and then so you got Nassim Taleb, Peter Thiel. Do you have another one you like out there, author or book?
Let's see what comes to mind. Actually I'm not the biggest fan, but I just finished reading. I'm not the biggest fan of the author. I am a big fan of the guy, of the story. Walter Isaacson just
Yeah.
finished a biography on Elon Musk.
Hmm.
He shadowed him for I think 3 or 4 years. I repeat that I'm not the biggest fan of Isaacson, but I am a big fan of Elon. I think there is a lot to learn from Elon. So I think it's a good read still because the story is very important. I think what Elon achieved is actually unbelievable in many ways. And there are many things to learn from him. Somebody that achieves so much, there are many important things there.
So is there, I always ask this because I was way early in my career. I asked, I got lucky. I got on a call with a billionaire one time, and he asked me a question that kind of blew my mind. It always stuck with me. And he said, well, what's the exit strategy? So is there an exit strategy for polar monkeys? Is there one, or is there not?
Yeah, look, like I said initially, I don't have like number goals in terms of money or in terms of top sold. There are some things that I want to make good products, and I want to make products that are original. I don't want to make the same product as everybody else. I don't want to be competing and be the next sauna company. I don't want to be. And now it seems that this is a crowded industry. It is now. This summer, 1,000 new companies came every week to the to the industry. So I am looking for new things, and I think the good thing about Polar Monkeys is it's not limited to one product. You'll see very soon. Very soon, we are gonna be releasing some very cool products. We're gonna be releasing a clothing. We're gonna be releasing very cool content. We have some great partnerships with some amazing athletes. Now we're making content with them. And some new products. We are making a sauna, but it's something very different. It's not just the typical thing the other companies are selling, and we'll be making more products. That is my goal. I don't have an exit strategy really in terms of getting a check and just like that.
Well, you look pretty young. How old are you?
I'm 33.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess at 33, you might consider taking chips off the table, selling some stock in the business, maybe so you can, buy some things for yourself and increase your quality of life. But yeah, I think that's probably a little too young to probably consider 100% exit.
Yeah, even if I exit, I will do the same elsewhere because I think I would get bored very quickly if I wouldn't do nothing, So I like building products. I don't like doing the same thing as everyone else. So hopefully I'll still be doing that even if outside of Polar Monkeys. But I think Polar Monkeys offers very very good potential, and we have a lot of very exciting projects. So I'm not looking for that at this time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think. Well, I love the product. I use it. Do you use your own product?
I use it a lot, and
Yeah.
sometimes because of actually one part of my story that I didn't tell. Very very early into the starting of the business, I realized that I needed money to keep growing the business, and I had to sell my house. That was
Oh.
the house that I mentioned that I was living with my girlfriend and my friend. Um, so I actually went all in. I put all the chips in the table to use your analogy, and I don't even have a house now. So now I live in an apartment, and I mentioned that because here is of course I cannot have a cold plunge in a small apartment like I do now. I have one at the office which I use as much as I can, and the benefits are actually I actually wish I did it today because I would feel more energized for this. I'm taking this meeting from my house and didn't have time to
Well,
go
you're in
there.
South Florida, right? It's
Yeah.
pretty chilly out. I'm in North Florida, so it's pretty chilly out today. Do you still do it in cold weather, or do you?
Yeah, I think it doesn't matter too much because that you must know this. The once you are in, it's painful. No matter it doesn't help if it's 100 outside or if it's 50 outside. It will be difficult either way. And
I prefer to go in when it's hot out, personally, because then you can just hop right out and then you can be in the sun. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
probably when you get out it helps, but maybe getting in, I don't know. I actually I'm not too sure, because also the delta, when it's hotter, the delta is higher, so you're going from hotter to colder versus you're going from colder to cold. So I don't know which one is more difficult, but certainly it is difficult even in hot or cold weather.
Yeah, I've got it on my back porch. So in the cold weather, I'm like, I don't know if I can do it, but probably. Yeah. So what do you recommend? Like 3 minutes in? That's kind of the twice a week? Is there some sort of like method to it, or you just you're just building them?
Yeah, I can tell you what I like personally. I don't know if this is the optimal way. A lot of people now say, have a lot of opinions about this. I disagree with many of them. Like I said initially, I even don't recommend it for a recovery or for injuries. But for me, I can tell you just from personal experience what I like. This is not backed by any clinical studies, although I've read every clinical study about the probably that's out there about cold water. But still, I think a personal experience is very important, and it is what I can tell you. For me, I like going 10 minutes if I have the time, if possible. And at the last minute, I like to go. I actually bought and I disclaimer, don't try this at home. But I bought one of those things you use for scuba. What is the snorkeling?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. So you can put your head under the water, right?
I don't recommend it. I don't know if
Yeah.
this is safe, but the last.
I do it. I do that also for about 15 to 20 seconds. I'll put my
Yeah,
head under.
I do the same. The last minute or the last 30 seconds, I go my head underwater. I go with the snorkeling tube. Yeah, and I try to be there 10 minutes. I also
10 minutes is long. So what do you have it set at? What temperature?
yeah, usually have it between 48, around 48,
Okay.
and I think 48 is my go-to temperature now. It changes.
Yeah.
I had some times where I liked it at 40, 38. Um, so and yeah, I think 48 is cold enough where you get the benefit. I don't find any additional benefit of going any colder. And there is a meditative or meditative aspect to it from going long, because I don't think you get there if you do like 1 minute or 2 minutes. You don't get the meditative component. I think after the 3 minutes, if you start relaxing and trying to control your breathing, I think your nervous system gets to a place where it's very beneficial, or at least for me. So yeah, 10 minutes, the last minute, the head underwater, and that's my way. What is your preferred method?
No, your way totally makes sense. Actually, like I'll meditate and I'll shoot for 5 to 10 minutes. And for me, like after 30 seconds, it's not cold anymore. It's just in my head that I think it's cold. My body, it's not cold. It's like cold for the first 15, 30 seconds. I actually use I'll show you. This is like a Pomodoro clock. Have you ever seen these
Yeah,
before?
I've heard about it. Yeah,
Yeah, so you just put it on 5 minutes. So I'll use that, and it'd be a timer. But I usually do like 3 minutes to 5 minutes. But now I'm thinking, should I just go longer and do a meditative state? I have to train my brain to not think it's cold, even though it's actually my body doesn't think it's cold. My brain just thinks it's cold, and it wants to get out, and it's trained to get out. That's the monkey brain in me, right? The polar
yeah,
monkey. That's like I
exactly.
gotta civilize myself to be a human. Am I gonna be like my croc brain or my human brains? Don't. So yeah, my stupid brain or my chimp brain wants me to. Oh yeah, it's cold, but it's not really cold because I'm just numbed out, right? I'm just numbing in there. And I could stay probably for 10 minutes, but my brain thinks it's cold, even though after 30 seconds, it's like getting in a pool, right? You get in a cold pool. And when you get out, it's actually colder than when you're in the pool. You know what I mean? Just like a swimming pool. So you might as well just stay in there because it's warmer inside of there. But your brain kind of tricks you eventually over time to think, okay, it's still cold, get out. So I have to train my brain to not do that and potentially stay in longer. For me, the reason I got into ice bath cold plunging was because Florida is so hot, right? And I wanted to keep my core body temp down in the summers. So I hated going outside. So that was what attracted me. Or also I was going to get out of town every year in Florida because I hate the heat in Florida. So I just looked for like a less expensive, rather than moving or relocating my entire family for a summer, just fix myself and help myself acclimate to the temperatures that way. And then there's other benefits, and you read about them. So there's other benefits to it. Other than that, that was not what attracted me to cold plunging, though. It was to just get my core body temp down during the summer so I could tolerate this Florida weather. But yeah, I probably just went long on that, but that's kind of how.
That's great. Actually, I wanted to ask you about your experience with cold water, and also, do you find any other benefits, or what are the main benefits you find, if any?
I see that. Here's what's crazy. It's random, right? If I get bit up like by mosquitoes or ants or anything, or my kids, we just stick their hand in there, and it's like it kills it eliminates the itching or the pain, because there's always bugs in Florida. So we, stick the kid's hand in there or my legs in there, and it eliminates it right away, the itching and the pain. Those are just some of the non well-known benefits of it that we have. I also stick my head under. I love putting
some marketing for cold water for mosquitoes.
Yeah, see, I'm not joking. It works. Or if you get bit by ants, I mean, because you just
it makes sense. Actually, it really makes sense.
Try it, because there's a lot of like no-see-ums out in North Florida. And you can't fight them with pest control. They'll just get you, right? If they're out in season, they're going to get you, and there's no pest control that can control it. So if they get you, it'll itch up like crazy. I just dip a leg in there. If you're wearing shorts around the property or wherever you're at, I just dip a leg or two legs in there or the arms in there, and it cures. And the kids mentally think, oh, even if it's not, but I think it is. They're like, oh yeah, ice helps, right? Ice helps everything. So mentally, it also is helpful, just the whole concept of it,
Yeah, I think even if it's placebo, but
right. You always say it may help, it may not help. I'll pay for the possibility of the help, right? Even if it's a placebo, it's like taking vitamin D or whatever. Hopefully it helps. If it doesn't, it only costs whatever a nickel. Right?
Actually, placebo, it's a real thing.
Mm.
So it's not like placebo. It's like a possibility or something.
Right.
Placebo, it's a real thing where if you think something works and you do it, then it will work. So it's a real thing. That's
the belief. The belief that it's working, right?
And it's proven, and that's why actually all the clinical trials, they have two groups. They have the control group and they have the placebo group, because they have to eliminate the effect of the placebo, which is real. It's actually real. So, but even if it's that, who cares? Because
I got a book or a recommendation. It's Drive by Daniel Pink for the audience and yourself. Have you read that one yet?
I have not, but I will take the recommendation.
It talks about extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. I think you'll really like it because you seem an intrinsically motivated person, and it talks about placebos and stuff like that.
I'll check it out for sure. Thanks for the recommendation.
Yeah, man. Well, shoot, I feel like this could go on for a while, and I think we'll have to get you back on maybe in a year or something like that, and I don't know, catch up. But thank you so much for coming on and enlightening the audience and your entrepreneurial journey, trial and error, right? Take risk. I like the 0 to 1, but I like if you can sell 1, you can sell 100.
I'll take that as well.
Yeah. and blue ocean strategy. Is there anything
Sure.
else? Any other takeaways you can think of that might have, helped you along the way?
Well, let's see. I think, yeah, the biggest factor for the success of Polar Monkeys, because we grew a lot, was basically what I mentioned. We were into an industry with no competition, and I do encourage that. I tell the people who ask me, don't try to compete, don't try to be one more. Even if it's differentiating yourself, which a lot of people say stuff like that. I, I put it in a different way sometimes. I just say try to be original. If you see
Yeah.
Polar Monkeys, even if at this point there are 1,000 polar cold plunge companies, you'll see that at least we are original. At the
Yeah.
time we came, we there weren't any other companies, or just the ones I mentioned, but not at our price level. And still, for our quality, there's no real competition. But still, if you see our company, we do things different. We are original. We do. If you see our artwork, this is
Yeah.
something very
Awesome artwork, by the way. It's interesting, blue ocean strategy. I 100% agree with that, right? And it's funny because it's like, all right, if you have a kid, right, and you want your kid to be the best at a sport, you put them where all the other good kids are, right? So he gets competitive. And I'm trying to like figure this out in my head, but in business, you don't want to do that, right? Because like in mortgages, it's so commoditized, I guess is the word. There's so many people doing it. I guess the key takeaway is if you're in mortgages, get out of mortgages, find something that is less competitive, because that you can really get commoditized, or else you have to get very creative inside the mortgage industry to be successful.
yeah,
But
it's a hustle.
which is possible.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, you can be, there's various ways to make it creative and fun. But they say put your kid in a sport and put it with the best players, right? So they can, iron sharpens iron, they get better. But do you put them in the sport like that there's nobody at? Like, I don't know. It's like, I'm just trying, I'm doing my best to like,
Yeah, I probably this concept.
figure out the business model on each, you know what I
Probably
mean?
this doesn't apply to any aspect to every aspect of life.
Right.
Yeah, so for some things you wanna be with people, of course. Some sports you wanna play with people, but I think.
But do you though? But there's no blue ocean there, right? Wouldn't I rather my kid play cricket and be the best at cricket? I don't know, but it's just an interesting debate, I guess.
Well, yeah, it depends. If it's for fun, who cares? Whatever is fun for you. But in terms of making money, I think if you want to be the best, I think either you are the best or you can be the best mortgage broker. But you probably know it's very hard to be the best mortgage broker. It's very
Yeah.
very hard to be the best runner or whatever. But I think it's much easier to be the only. So to be the only one, and to be the only one, you have to just be original. You don't have to be the best, but it's much easier to be the only one in your field, and that will make you number one automatically, because there is no competition. Um, so competition just makes everything harder. There is a concept in Econ 101. I don't know if you study any economics class in college, but I think that they teach this because it's very easy to model for the teachers. They said that in a perfect competition environment, the net profit of an industry is zero. So if you see like very competitive environments in business, for example, restaurants or Amazon is a very competitive environment. Surely there is the best Amazon seller and he makes some money, but most people in Amazon either break even or lose some money or earn very little money. It's so hard. Of course, there is no such thing as a perfect competition environment, but I think the concept is very valid. If there were no friction, no barriers, no advantages to anyone, the net profit of any industry will be zero. So there's not a lot of opportunity if you really want to get rich. If you really want to get rich, you want to be number one, and I think it's much easier to be the only one, to be to create your own category,
right?
Then try to go and compete with the best.
You create your own category. That reminds me of another book. I can't remember the name of it. They talk about category creators in it.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it though.
There is a story that talks about that. You know who was the first person who crossed the Atlantic Ocean with an airplane?
So Lindbergh, I think, or I don't know.
One of those guys. You know who was the second one?
No.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
But you know who was the third one?
No.
The third one, everyone knows. You also know. Is Amelia Earhart.
Oh, okay.
The reason why everyone knows is not because she was the first to cross the Atlantic Ocean. It's because she was the first woman to cross the Atlantic. So just because she created a different category and she was the first in her category.
Right.
So she owned her own category.
Yeah.
Even
so isn't this like the plunge? I feel like you're on the heels. Like it's time you got to own the category.
I think we own the category of
the plunge is right there. They're like, because you're always, when I was shopping, I was like, okay, you got to see what number 2 is, or at least what else is out there, right? Because the plunge had Shark Tank. Who didn't see that, right? They're marketing like crazy.
100%.
But who is out there and are they close? And that's kind of what I dug into, and that's how I found you guys. And I thought the art was a differentiator, and I thought you put more thought into rather than just attaching a bunch of big names to it. But
that is one thing I just want to mention to clarify how.
Oh, you have a cooler name.
No, that is one thing, but there's another thing. Like I said initially, I see the industry in three segments. Cold plunges above $10,000, cold plunges between $5,000 to $10,000, and the cold plunges under $5,000. Under $5,000, we are number one.
Yeah,
and it's not even close. There is no one close to us selling cold plunges under $5,000.
Right.
We are really alone in this category. We have almost a monopoly, or at least we did for a long time. Now we have some competition, but it's not even close in terms of quality. If you want to buy a plunge for under $5,000, it's not even close the other options to us.
Yeah.
We are number one in sales, in quality, and yes, of course, the overall industry, the plunge is number one. They are the biggest company in the industry, but under $5,000, there's no other company that.
Well, you guys have gone from selling 0 tubs to 200 a month inside 3 years. That's remarkable.
Yes, it's a lot.
So thank you so much, Alex. We'll catch up with you later.
Andrew, thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Stay here.